Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 226 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is a recovering Brian. So as you hear this, you probably saw that there was we had to play an old episode. Tim was good enough to find a timely one, though, at least. I was feeling okay, except that I really didn't have much of a voice. For full transparency, I avoided it for over 2.5, almost 2 years and plus, I guess, a couple of months, but finally the COVID found me, and it was so fun. I mean, it's weird that like the way I got it, because out of all the things, we've gone to horror cons, we've gone to Halloween Horror Nights, been back to work, and I was assured that like I figured those would have been one of the places I would have got it, but no. I guess we were spending the weekend, which I now we're spending the weekend, the Mother's Day weekend, with my brother and his fiance came up, and we were all there, and I guess they had it and didn't know until Monday. They found out. They kind of thought it was just like we all kind of thought it was like just sinus infections, because all of us were kind of like we always have sinus. That's just a thing in my family. So, but we found out that it wasn't. So in true fashion that Tim just finds entertaining, the part is that, so it was me, I got it, my brother and his fiance had gotten it, my mom and stepdad all got it. Julie was spared for now, at least, and she did a PCR, she had a negative rapid PCR the other day, which is the most accurate, same one that found out I was positive. So she took it like 5 days later, and she was negative, knock on wood. She's still okay. But like as Tim said, Tim said she probably just looked at COVID and COVID kind of ran away, because yeah, that is Julie. But I will say I was very lucky, because and everyone in my family that did get it, by the way, I've nicknamed that weekend the Mother's Day Massacre now, by the way. But yeah, no, the day I got lucky, because I was the one that had the least like effect of it. It wasn't until the cough when I realized something was off, and the cough, it was kind of the main reason why we didn't record, because it would be like I'd start talking after a while, and like at work, even like on a work meeting over the on Zoom, I would talk for a little bit, and then just my voice would that's it, it'd give out, and kind of I have these coughs. So we didn't think that would make for a good podcast episode.
No.
Cough has definitely got a lot better. But yeah, no, it was only a day and maybe a half of not feeling great. That first Tuesday morning when I got the positive test, I went they gave me the prescription to that Paxlovid, which is that antiviral. I think it's made up of 2 drugs. It's in kind of like in the emergency use thing right now, and it's got 2 I guess it's got 2 different pills together. You get 2 of one and 1 of the other, and you have to take 3 each morning and 3 at night, and it's 5 days. They gave it to me, and but literally though, I took that thing, and by the next morning already I was feeling better.
Wow.
And I was like,
cool.
Wednesday, so I woke up and I'm like, oh, I feel actually okay. And it wasn't other than like literally the cough and maybe like a little bit of tiredness, but that was probably because of the stress, in all honesty, worrying about everything. But then it turned out that that was it. I had so I definitely have to list as a mild case. And I'm not starting this is definitely not something, a whole preachy thing, because I know some people don't believe it. But I'm like full on, get your vaccinations, get your boosters when you can. And of course I had that, so I think that's definitely part of it. I think the antiviral drug was part of it. I also take a ton of vitamin D every day, and I use those little zinc elderberry gummies I got at Target, those for extra immune boost. So I mean, maybe all of it together might have like kind of helped me through it. Anyway, this is not a medical podcast, but I just thought I'd update you guys on why you kind of got stuck with a leftover episode. I just thought it'd be better that we'd instead of rushing out an episode towards the end of the week, We figured we'd just
and we haven't really done a replay episode in a while, so it was kind of fun to get back to an old one.
Well, plus replays are good for for listeners that may not have joined us all the way back then, and instead of sometimes they it's like sometimes they don't have time to go back through the back catalog. So
yeah, and it was neat hearing the old theme song and all that,
right.
The old intro that Tom used to do. So anyway, well, let's get right into it then. This is our first chop. All right, Brian, not a whole lot. I did watch one horror movie, and that was Firestarter, which I'm not going to talk about because I think we're going to do a roundtable on that one. The new Firestarter remake.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I watched one, and this one's not horror, and I would dare say it's not even creepy. But it was on a list of YouTube. It's a YouTube video talking about the 5 creepiest documentaries, right? And so
is our other one on there? That nightmare one we watched? That's no.
That's
not on there.
No, and it was talking about these 5 creepy documentaries, and this was number 4, I guess, but it sounded intriguing. And after I watched it, I realized, okay, this is not creepy. It's not even scary. But I wanted to bring it up just because it's something I watched, and I thought it was really entertaining. Of course, it's on Tubi, like everything. It's called The Institute. It was made up back in 2012. And it's about a kind of a social game that some people started in San Francisco back in 2000. I think it was from like 2009 to 2011, I want to say. And basically they started putting up these flyers everywhere about this Jejune Institute. And all these inventions they had made, like a force field and a way to talk to dolphins and all this kind of crazy stuff. And if you called the number on the flyer, it would lead you kind of down this rabbit hole. To the point where people were actually going to this office building, checking in. They were having to watch a video, and then that would lead to these more clues and more clues. And it was kind of like, these days it kind of seems pretty commonplace with all the find a killer boxes and the escape rooms and all that stuff is pretty commonplace now. So I think if you saw this happening today, you wouldn't be as surprised by it. 10 years ago, I don't know if that was necessarily the case.
Surprised by getting into a cult these days? Yeah, not surprised at all.
Well, it does have a lot of cult aspects to it, and the founder of the game even says in there, he's like, I was kind of concerned people think this is an actual cult, but yeah, it led to all these clues about this missing girl named Ava, and so you had to kind of follow what was going on there and learning about her life and about this Jejune Institute and this concept of elsewhere where you could somehow maybe enter a state where you're in a different reality, all kinds of stuff. And it was kind of cool because like they would do stuff like make somebody wait at a payphone and then the person would have to dance to get the next clue. And so you'd have these people like at a payphone randomly dancing and other people.
That's kind of fun. You know what that reminds me of real quick? Sorry, a little off topic, but we haven't recorded in a while, so I haven't really talked to Tim in a while. So one of the there was this thing we used to do when for the school radio station. So my resident apartments was right above the entryway into our building, so I was on the 6th floor and I could look down, so I could always see when people would come in and we'd like yell at them and and like joke around and stuff, or we'd see our friends and we'd be like, yo, what's up? Yeah. But there also happened to be the phone booth was right below, and we knew the number, and me and a couple of my friends there also worked for the school radio station. So what we used to do is we'd have we'd be calling them on one line and letting them know who was at the phone booth, like either by if we knew the person by name or if we had a descriptive quality, and we'd have the radio station call and ring the phone booth, and they'd pick it up and they'd be like, so why are you wearing that green t-shirt? And they'd be like, it'd be fun, and we'd look from above and watch everyone freak out. It was hilarious. We'd like tell them things to say like about the person, and it was like it just reminded me of that gimmick where we'd have them yell out things. We'd say like, oh, could you yell out this, and we'll give you like tickets to a concert or something, so they would win prizes by doing stuff. That totally awesome. Reminds me of that. Like you said with them dancing. We'd have them yell out like things to people like that we knew that happened to be walking by or going to be by. It was really articulated well, I have to say.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like I said, it's not that creepy or anything, but it's really fascinating, and it comes to and it makes you think about one common thing I saw come up in reviews is, does art need to have an ending? Because this game obviously ended at some point. and a lot of the documentaries focuses on how it ended, and so it's kind of interesting. Like, if you enjoy the experience, do you have to like the ending, kind of thing. It's a fascinating documentary, well worth watching since it's free on Tubi.
Yeah, I told Julie she needs to watch this because she likes all these things that you and her have a lot in common with these these kind of documentaries.
If you like psychology and that kind of thing, and I like escape rooms and I like puzzles, and it was kind of fascinating in that way. So check that out. It's The Institute from 2012. There's a lot of movies called The Institute, so make sure you.
I know it really is. You got to watch it because there's one that was like not a documentary at all, some weird B movie or something, but. So I was trying to find this because I saw an article on it a couple weeks ago, I think. So, and I wanted to see it. But all right, cool. Yeah, I put that in the queue. I put it in for Julie too, actually, in her queue. I didn't get to really watch anything else other than my the main movie and the TUBI TRAP movie, which I'll go to in a second. But I will say real quick. So one of the things I don't know if I had mentioned. I think I mentioned to you. I don't know if I mentioned on the air, but a bunch of my my high school friends were all turning 50 this year. So. Like our core group of friends, we're gonna go do a Vegas trip in July, and one of the things I think I did not expect them to all be in on this. I mean, they like fun stuff, but it's kind of horror themed things, and we're going to Vegas. You figure there's many other things they want to do, but I think we're gonna do the double. There's a combo ticket for the Blair Witch and Saw escape room. That's there.
Cool. That'll be
so
fun.
Yeah, and it's the one. I don't know if you've seen the Blair Witch commercial for it. It's Danielle Harris directed it and stars in the commercial for this escape room. So it's like top notch, like escape room thing. And I think it's like $70 is the combo package, and you can get both escape rooms for it.
That's not bad. I mean, most escape rooms run $30-$35.
Right. Yeah, and I mean
average.
For in Vegas, and it's probably a very high, elaborate. Highly themed, elaborate one. And you've got Danielle Harris making your commercial for you. She's not just going to do that for like your run of the mill like escape rooms. And Tim, you and I have done one. We've done one together. Mm-hmm. And of course we escaped. But it's like it's not like that one where it's like just some room in the middle. It was like in the middle of it was like on the 12th floor of some building.
Well, I will have to say that's probably like a low end or like mid average escape room that we went to, and I still had a blast.
Oh yeah,
so you can imagine how much a high quality one.
Yeah, well, the first one I ever did, I remember it was Julie, Seth, and Celia. It was Seth's birthday, and so we took him for his birthday, and we did it. And it was the four of us, and we got lucky. Actually, we got our own room that day, because sometimes they stick people in there with you if there's extra.
Yeah, but you get the one guy that doesn't know how to do anything.
Yeah, like the one guy, and he doesn't know you, so he just keeps like trying to do his own thing or something. But yeah, we had that happen with my dad's birthday when I took. It's a long story. I'm not even allowed to talk about it because they have some weird drinking game. Because every time I stew on the But yeah, so it was good, and that one was cool. It was like we were in a subway car, and so we felt like you were in a New York City subway car. Like it was well done. Like it was, and of course my klutziness actually led us to finding one of the clues we were kind of a little stumped on, where we couldn't find anything. And as I was walking out of the escape room, the little conductor. What is it? Not conductor, engineer's booth of the little fake subway car. I tripped and kicked a box that was hidden underneath the thing. So like Seth's like figures you would find it that way, but sure. And we did that one. We won that with like I think 5 minutes to spare. But it was like that was like a true team effort. That one I remember. There was one sequence where you had to hit these red buttons and like almost like Simon. And so it's like, it would go beep, 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 and you'd have to memorize the thing. So Julie was smart. She said like, okay, you remember half and you remember half. And that's how we figured it out. So we managed to, and you had to do 10 levels of like that Simon game. So that's not easy. And they're all red buttons. It's not even like colors. You have to just remember the spaces. So that was a very challenging one. That was our first one ever, but we did it, and it was really cool. It's so funny. Seth was so excited. We figured out the thing. He unlocked and ran out there and forgot us in there. Almost closed the door back on us. But yeah. So big escape room fan. But anyway, let's go off the tangent for a little bit. Get back to TUBI TRAP. I think you went first last week, right?
Yeah, I think I might have.
Yeah. So since I didn't watch a movie, I'll go first this week. So Tim once again put me in the middle of a franchise.
I intentionally made him watch the sequel because I didn't want him to watch the original.
Yeah, I got in the sequel, and I really don't know if it matters, really, frankly, with this one. And he gave me The Leprechaun's Curse. And before you question it, no, this has nothing to do with the famed Warwick Davis Leprechaun franchise, or even the worst one of that one they did. Remember, was it remember the one that had like nothing to do with a leprechaun at all?
Oh yeah,
it was like that creature leprechaun.
That reminded me of like the Wrong Turn remake, where it was like nothing to do with the original series.
Exactly, and it's not even like at that level. This thing is oh my god. Okay, first of all right. So this movie just kind of starts off almost like it was in the middle, not just the middle of the franchise, but in the middle of the movie almost. It literally starts off with this guy like walking around this, I guess, an apartment complex, but it seems like he's the only one that lives there. But there's like a pool house, and all of a sudden, like, just out of nowhere, the leprechaun appears. And let me tell you, this leprechaun is not like a little leprechaun. This guy is like a full-sized, lanky leprechaun. Clearly wearing like that Party City generic leprechaun costume that you see.
Yes,
with
awesome.
With the worst mask ever. Literally, and later in scenes you actually see like where the mask and his face, like his real face, lead, and for inexplicable reasons they continue on the close up of it. So it's like if you missed it the first 54 seconds of this scene, you will surely see it by the end of it.
Oh, that's great.
It's so weird. And then for some other inexplicable reason, the voice of the leprechaun, it's like, it's not me gold. That's what you expected, right?
Right.
No,
right.
Instead it's this metallic voice that literally sounds like someone, like a kid talking through one of those dollar store, like Dollar Tree or Five Below, like voice changers.
No
way. I can't even replicate it because I don't have the technology here currently. But it's just like where's me gold? I want me gold. Like that. It's like that weird vibrate. I'm like, it's funny. Julie walked in. She goes, "What is that?" She like heard it going.
Oh, that's great.
And then to make it worse, it's like, it's bad enough when it shows him and you can see his mouth moving to it. It's dubbed. But what's even worse is there's a couple of long shots where he's talking and he's clearly miming another scene altogether. But yet they just overdub whatever line they need at that moment.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's bad. And of course he does this like his one of his cool features, I guess if you call it cool in quotes. He does like this hand gesture like Spider-Man and this green smoke comes out. And that kind of can do various things to people. But yeah, I'll give you the plot. Well, no, actually, I want to do that. I figured this one works best with drive-in totals. So I'm going to rip off Joe Bob a little here. And here's the drive-in totals for this movie. Wine drinking, sauna steaming with melodramatic conversation. Shirtless pancake eating. Excessive shirt design with buttons open for a non-existent chest hair. Fake baby. Gold thumbtacks. Stereotypical leprechaun antics. High heel eye gouging foo. Feudal pepper spray foo. Leprechaun seduction foo. 1 star. Bri Bob says don't check it out. But yeah, this one, yeah, literally, and let me get to that. The fake baby. Okay. Now, mind you, for the first few scenes with this said fake baby, I literally thought the character just walked around with a baby doll, and that was what it was. But then I remembered that I guess she called a babysitter in the beginning. But then again, I thought it was like one of those Lars and the Real Girl situations where or like the Terrifier, Terrifier, where like the woman had the fake baby, like kind of thing. Mm-hmm. No, this was a real baby because later it was crying, and it was a doll, clear as day. It was a doll, and they made no attempt to not show the reveal that it was a doll. Like, they didn't try and mask it. They didn't even try and add any kind of vibration to it. So it literally looked like they were carrying around a dead baby. It's terrible. That's how bad this thing was. The plot is very basic. And I feel like it's typical horror and leprechaun film-esque thing where it's a girl inherits a property that may or may not have been an apartment complex. I can't tell because there's a pool house in it. But what's weird is, there's a person cleaning the pool, which was mother of the said fake baby. And she's like, "Oh, the pool opens at 6." I'm like, for who? There's one person that lives there, and he died in the beginning of the movie, and now that's this woman and her friends come there who inherited it. So wouldn't she just say, no, the pool's open now. I want to be in the pool now. It's like, why? It's like, what are they waiting for? It's very odd. But anyway, so they get into this thing, and then the leprechaun seems to be going after keeps accusing all these people of stealing their gold. But like, what's weird is, so the main character, she finds gold at the bottom of the pool. Now, not that this movie really ever stops to think about a plot point or continuity or anything. Well, my thought is like, so he accuses her of stealing the gold that's literally at the bottom of the pool, yet he's been hanging around the pool area for like whatever time it took for that guy to die, and then her to finally inherit the house. And any legal proceeding knows that gotta be minimum like, what, a couple of months? Why didn't he just go in the frickin' pool and pick up his gold? I don't understand it. But, and then like anything, people keep finding the gold, and they keep taking it, and he tries to bargain with them, and then they die. Like
so it's
most
basically
of the
the plot of Leprechaun in a way.
It is. That's definitely the same. I mean, it's always Leprechaun and his gold. Like, yeah, I mean, that's not really that hard to stray from that plot. But and then like the one cool kill is where he like takes the kind of the obligatory frenemy slut girl that cheats with the main character's boyfriend. Like she gets like hit. It's so weird. So he gouges her eye out with the heel. And she just goes, ah, and she puts her hand over her eye, and then mysteriously the eyeball is now stuck to the edge of her finger. I mean, I'm telling you, the strangeness of this movie. And it's like, it's so, like, at some level, so slow-paced. There was, like, they easily could have cut this movie in half, and you would have got the same plot point out of it. And also, there's some weird part where the leprechaun, apparently, although you don't see it, apparently has a Polaroid camera, because the characters keep getting left these little like leprechaun like notes, and in an unforgivable thing, they don't even rhyme, which is even more frustrating.
Which is like Leprechaun 101. I mean,
you've got to at least rhyme his freaking little poems there. I think maybe one rhyme. Most of them are just like, "Where's me gold? I need it now," kind of thing. And the funniest thing is, so I guess it's all Irish film, but I guess the way that Leprechaun says teeth, a thief, he says teeth. And so it's the funniest thing is the subtitles. So I had to put on the subtitles because the audio quality was so bad. So it literally spells out T-E-E-F. And I'm like, what the hell is teeth? It took me like 20 minutes to figure out they meant thief.
Oh my gosh.
And and so the Polaroid camera makes no sense. And anyway, and and then the movie I thought ends and has this like epilogue that takes another like, I swear, like 5 to 7 minutes. Like, and I'm just like, oh my god, and it's more boring conversation, and then it ends. Then it has the nerve to end in like this cliffhanger thing to set up a next film, if God forbid they make one. And the worst part is, I literally it like froze with like 2 minutes left. Something happened with my Tubi, and I had to like on my Fire Stick, so I had to watch it on my phone. The last 2 minutes. But it was so funny because Julie kept coming into parts of it, and she just kept shaking her head. She's like, "Wait a minute, why?" She goes, "Wait a minute, what? So it's a leprechaun now?" Like, she couldn't figure out what was going on by coming in and out of it. And like at one point, literally, the leprechaun just disappears for 20 minutes too, and it's like, and he just reappears when he feels like it. There's no like fanfare to him. He just like walks around, he prances around, and he runs, and it's in a way he's kind of creepy because he's full sized and lanky. And not like short, but like, oh my god, this is like, you gotta see this leprechaun costume. And the face that you saw in the poster you sent me to watch it, that's it. But the full outfit is great. Oh, and he also collects shoes too. Is that a leprechaun trait? I can't even remember anymore.
Well, there's like the cobbler elves. I guess it's kind of related, but
yeah, well, because he takes everyone's shoes throughout the movie too. Including one pair of just like white sneakers, which I can't even like imagine. What would a leprechaun do with a pair like that? Like, I get it if it's like fancy shoes, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Leprechaun's Curse. That was what Tim got, but don't worry, I have revenge for him for this one for my.
I'm actually really scared about Brian's next pick because he's been like really excited about it, which means
I've been touting it all week for him to.
He
doesn't know yet.
So my film was Scarecrows. Straw is the new gore. And let me tell you, this movie was 76 minutes, I think, and probably the longest 76 minutes I've ever had to sit through. Watch
Leprechaun's Curse.
It took me like 3 days to get through this thing. it's about these. So it starts off. The intro is like there's these girls sitting around, and one of them says something about they're talking about like witchcraft and stuff, and one of the girls says that that's not real, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I want to bet," and there's a cat sitting there, and she draws a picture of a cat and then like scratches through it, and then about that time the cat runs out into the middle of the road and gets hit by a car. Okay, so that's like the setup.
That's
so now
horrible. Cut
to years later, and this is all British. I mean, they're like super British, and they're having what they call a scary crow festival, and there's like this really cheap flashback where they talk about why they're not scarecrows, they're scary crows, because at some point they saved the village or something. I don't know. There was some historical backstory to why this is called the Scary Crow Festival. But the problem is, for the first 35 minutes of the movie, literally nothing scary happens at all. And you don't even see a scary crow like moving.
I was going to say, at least is there a crow?
No, there's like 35 minutes. It's all set up. And this is obviously trying to be a horror comedy in the vein of like Shaun of the Dead or something. But the problem is it's just not funny. And most of the characters, they have like all these wacky characters that they just spend way too much time trying to make you think they're funny. Like this wacky hairdresser, and then you got this wacky guy that's always singing music, and he's always like a music head. And they're just so... And there's like the hairdresser diva guy that comes in that is like owns a fancy salon. And it's kind of like the comedy style would be sort of like if you were watching a bad improv and somebody said, shouted out, diva hairdresser, and then the guy had to like make it up on the spot. That's like the awkwardness of this comedy. So it was really, really bad. So 35 minutes in, finally the scary crows start moving. We find out that, and I'm going to spoil this movie because I don't care. We find out that the blonde girl at the front of the movie that made the cat die, she was injured and crippled somehow, so she's now completely paralyzed in a wheelchair. But we find out it's her mind making the scary crows animate, sort of like in Tourist Trap, and she's sending them after all of the people that wronged her and everything.
Actually, the plot on that's not horrible if you think about it.
It's not, but it's just not done well. And one of the really bad things is all the kills are off screen. So what they do that trick of like, they don't have the budget for special effects, so they'll be like, look out, and they'll, you'll see the axe swinging, and then you'll cut to a reaction shot, and you'll hear the axe thunk, and then they come back and they show the axe in the head type thing. Like you never see any actual penetration, you never see any actual kills. Everything's off screen. The camera work, everything screams like super low budget, but I've never seen a British low budget film. So it was kind of interesting to me because
because they usually seem to find the budget.
Yeah, so it was weird because it was like your cheap, think of like your cheap Amityville movies, that kind of quality, like camcorder type quality, but British, and it was really strange to me because I've just never seen one. But it does prove to me now that British people can make really bad low budget horror movies too. But anyway, yeah, it was painful. And I will have to say, on the bright side, I feel like the people making this movie were super like nice people, and I think they probably had a blast making this, and I think their heart was in the right place. I think they were trying to make a kind of a funny comedy horror movie, and I could see their intent. They didn't pull it off, but I feel like I want to give them like an extra point just for like, I know what you're trying to do, and I kind of have to give you props for it. So yeah, Scary Crows I cannot recommend. In fact, I actually looked up, I was trying to see if Scary Crow is what British people call scarecrows, and then I found out that they just call them scarecrows. This was like a thing for the movie, or maybe or it may be a real thing in some places, but that's not like, it's not like a lorry is a truck. It's actually kind of something for the movie. So probably because they didn't want to name it Scarecrows, because there's already a movie called Scarecrows, which is actually
Yeah, no, they needed it. I think to require it, to make the TUBI cut, it needed to be Scary Crows.
Yeah. So that one, that was pretty painful. I think that's the most painful one I've been through so far, I'll have to say, which is kind of unfortunate. But
I think what you have coming up may take the cake.
Yeah, I'm scared about that one, but
a part of me would almost like I want to almost show it to you now, just hear your reaction on air, but not say what title it is.
Oh,
then that might take away some of the. Would that take away some of the fun?
No, I will totally do it.
Okay. So I'm going to send you right now. I'm sending Tim live.
This live reaction.
He will not tell you the movie, but you will
movie.
get his legit reaction.
Oh my God, I'm scared.
And he okay, I am sending it now. This is his reaction of what Tim will have to watch next week.
I'm kind of looking forward to this. Actually,
I knew you would, but I saw I think on the IMDb I saw a screenshot from it. I think that might end all illusions.
And the tagline is utterly brilliant.
Yeah,
utterly brilliant. Wow.
But this also could be possibly the biggest Tim movie of all time.
Oh, you guys watch? Stay tuned next week to find out what it is. But it is that's a gem. That's a gem.
Now you see why I was excited to like.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I found that, I'm like, I literally sat up and said, "Holy crap! This is the movie I gotta send Tim."
That's great. All right. Well, we have to get to the Chainsaw Awards. Yeah, I watched the Chainsaw Awards today. Actually, I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah,
live.
Same here. Yeah, because I was caught up in the obviously my love to horror is just it's definitely one of my biggest loves, but Obi, my family, not counting that kind of thing in terms of hobbies, I guess, or things. It's the New York Rangers, and of course they had a thank God I didn't miss last night's game, because I think I would have kicked myself. It was this game 7, and they won in overtime. And actually that leads to a matchup, which Tim and I are working on, a possible fun little thing that by the time you hear this will probably be announced already on social media. But it's funny. It's like basically the Civil War round of the playoffs, because the Rangers are playing the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
So it's New York versus Carolina. So it couldn't have been better things. So Tim and I want to do something where we, Tim's not really a hockey fan. But he's damn proud of his states.
I think I may have watched one full hockey game in my entire life.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So really, there's not really much of an allegiance, but just in the spirit of the things. You know how like theme parks will do that.
Oh, like if I had to pick a hockey team, that's who I would pick, is the Carolina Hurricanes. I'd have to, right?
Yeah. So so we're gonna try and do something fun where whichever team wins, the other will have to do something. We originally thought maybe it'd be a funny movie, but really it's like TUBI Trap kind of does that. Yeah. So and Julie pointed out, she goes, "Why, you guys always watch bad movies?"
That's true. That's not a punishment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really a punishment. So we need to think of something fun. I mean, nothing like ridiculous. Just something kind of funny like that. Like will be horror related, but also it's not something along that lines. But anyway, yeah. So I as well watched it today, and like. But I mean, we'll start off. We'll go through the things, but I will have to say, and I'm going to butcher his name, but David Dastmalchian?
Dalmatian.
Yeah. That guy should host forever.
That
guy's the
Guy,
best.
yeah.
Oh my God, I love that dude. He's so funny because he plays a dual role, that other character that comes in. But he's just so good at the hosting job, and he's so like when he needs to be, he's so sincere, and when he wants to be funny, but it's all kind of deadpan, but you can still tell the difference. And yeah, he is like I swear to God, if they announced him perpetual host.
And I loved him in Suicide Squad. Like,
oh my God, he was great. Yeah, he was one of the true highlights of that movie.
Yeah.
That dude is awesome. And I remember he liked our tweet last year when I said he did a good job. He was like, "Oh, thanks, guys."
Yeah, he is super cool. I really really like his stuff. I'm sorry if we butchered his name, but that's Malchian, I guess. So I guess we'll kind of alternate through these, and I don't have the nominees listed. Brian does. So if you see a reason why we would need to list some of the nominees, Brian, feel free to go ahead. But I'm just focusing on the winners. I'll have to say the one, I don't want to say a problem, but the one aspect of the Chainsaw Awards that you have to realize going into is it's sort of like any other award-based show, which is audience-driven or fan-driven, is that a lot of times you're going to have the winners are going to be the more widely seen movies because generally people are not going to vote for something they haven't seen, obviously. So your Halloweens and your mainstream features are probably going to have a better shot of winning in some of these categories, unlike like the Oscars, which is all voted on by industry professionals who have watched everything and know everything. And that's why sometimes you see that big disconnect between Oscar winners and the audiences, and they go, "Wow, how the hell is that Best Picture?" But you got to keep in mind they're being voted on not by fans and audience members, are being voted on by industry. and this is kind of the
Yeah.
opposite. So I kind of saw some of that in some of these, but I think there were some other categories where there was no clear standout in terms of mainstream popularity. So those were interesting to see as well. The first one up here is Best Score, and no surprise here. John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, Daniel Davies won for Halloween Kills. Any kind of John Carpenter score, I think, is automatically just going to win because people love John Carpenter.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really hear any of the other scores on there. Maybe that Night House got a lot of nominations throughout. I'm sure that's probably good too. But like this year, I kind of didn't do a great job of watching everything for it.
This probably was the worst year for me in terms of having not seen most of the movies.
Yeah, there was a lot. Yeah, there's a lot, and some of these I'm dying to see. They're just on the list. I think doing the podcast and the horror we had a lot. Of our own things to watch it, and I was doing that Amityville thing, so that took up time. So it's just, it wasn't as good as, preparation-wise as we've been past year for it. But, I mean, if I look at the list, it was like from Come True, The Night House, In the Earth, and Hurt. I mean, there's going to be people there, your average horror fan, that's going to look at that list and probably have only seen a couple of those things. But they see Halloween Kills, they see John Carpenter's name. It kind of just no surprise on that one. That's the one I would have picked. I would have picked myself, and the one I would have guessed would have won. So, next one was Best First Feature, and this is one where I definitely think the winner was well deserved. There was a one though that I was rooting for, and that was The Stylist. By Jill, and I'm going to butcher her name too. I think it's Gervagian. She goes by Jill6 on Instagram, which is much easier to say. But that was the one with, it was a short film, and then it became a feature length. And I'm also still kind of, I really think that Najara Townsend should have been up for Best Lead, or if they wanted to maybe make her Best Supporting, because she was so good in that movie. And I'm surprised she did not get picked for that. But, I mean, at least Stylist got something. But, I mean, the winner was Saint Maud. I mean, that's another very, very popular movie. And I could see why it won, too. It was to me, it was going to be either Saint Maud or The Stylist, I thought. Yeah. There's like one that my heart can't beat unless you tell it to. Was that a Shudder movie?
Yeah, that one I was wanting to watch as well. There's so many.
Yeah, I wanted to see all these. So yeah, but I mean, you can't argue Saint Maud.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah, it was very popular, and it got a lot of got some mainstream. I can't speak. Mainstream popularity as well, so that always helps. These kind of movies.
This next one I was really excited for. Best Supporting Performance: Milson Simmons for A Quiet Place Part 2, and it was so cute because she signed her acceptance speech. But yeah, she was great in A Quiet Place Part 2, so I was glad to see her win.
Yeah, there was a lot. This was a tough category because I mean, listen to the people. It was Luke David Blum from Sun. Jennifer L. from St. Maud, Larry Fessenden from Jacob's Wife, Vincent Linden from Titan, or they kept saying it Titan.
Yeah, they said
Titan.
I thought, I think Kevin Kett said Titan, and I really want to see it based on their episode. But they kept saying
I mean,
Titan.
I've wanted to see it. Well, Jeff Whitmire has raved about it when he saw it right away, so I've always wanted to see it. But they said it differently. I don't know. It looks like it's spelled Titan. I don't know. Diana Rigg in Last Night in Soho. Bill Sage in Wrong Turn. Which one was he? Is he the guy that looked like I
have no clue.
Like Lawrence. Lawrence. What his name is? Not Lawrence Welk. What's his name? Oh my God, it's Orson Welles. But then there was Milson Simmons, of course, which, I mean, anytime, you play a role that she played was so good like that, I mean, you know what it is too? She it's not like she just kind of like, she even said it in her speech, like they didn't make her handicap in it a weakness, they made it her strength, and her character was like very heroic in both films, really.
Yeah, she was like she said on her acceptance speech, she was a badass.
Yeah, they made her made her a badass in both, and no matter what her limitations were physically, she Yeah, it was great. And she, and she's just so good in both those movies. So yeah, it's super, super well deserved. The last one was also Jeremy T. Thomas in Antlers, which I haven't seen yet, and then Suzanne Voss in Dementia Part 2. I never even heard of that one yet. But yeah, Milson Simmons, definitely, she had a lot of company there, but I'm glad she kind of stood out of the pack and won. Glad to see this one won. This was a film that we loved, and it's got a couple of wins. Best Creature FX. And that was from PG. And you're so funny, the whole time I didn't realize that PG was part of the title of that movie.
I know, it's the actual title of the day.
Yeah, it's actually PG Psycho Gorman. I always thought it was just Psycho Gorman. The PG was kind of like T2, you know, like the logo, like kind of fancy thing. But yeah, so that one, and that if you've seen that movie, it's got great effects in it. I mean, some of the other ones were like VHS 94 Antlers, Black Friday, and Green Knight. But, I mean, if you've seen Psycho Gorman, there was a lot of effects in that movie.
Well, not only they weren't like super realistic effects by any means. They were intentionally not at all. Intentionally kind of cheesy, but that was the style of the movie, and they were super creative too. That's what I liked. I wanted to learn more about these characters. That's how much I was like fascinated by these creature designs. So.
Yeah, and I know some people that actually would criticize Psycho Gorman, and I was surprised because you and I love that one, and that was I was surprised that like people could find like like many faults in that movie.
I think you have to get the aesthetic. I mean, it's got kind of to me it kind of had a bit of a Doctor Who vibe to it. In terms of the creature effects and stuff, and I think you just kind of have to. You either know that or you don't.
It's definitely one of those BBC like sci-fi type of
you
shows.
Just kind of have to get that or you don't, and I can understand why some people just don't get it. So I was okay. Next up was best streaming premiere movie, Fear Street 1666. Olivia and I watched the first Fear Street, and we really liked it, and we just never got around to watching the other two in the trilogy. And I've heard the 1666 one is actually one of the best.
That's the biggest you won, Tim. That out of all the three, that's like the one made for you. It's like with back in the like the folky horror one.
Yeah, I know, and I just have not got around to watching it. I think I'm gonna like make a point to watch the other two this weekend, maybe.
Yeah, and you know what's I gotta say, it's like because a lot of people they make fun of Netflix and their horror selections, even though they have a couple of big ones, like obviously Stranger Things and stuff like that, but the fact that this was a big thing for them, and then the fact that they won a couple awards for Fear Street, it was good too, because I like the whole like how it like tied in, like it was a really cool event, like every 2 weeks they'd have the next one, and I don't even know, I think I need to watch all three again to really pick my favorite, because I think each one had its own merits that I liked.
Yeah,
a lot.
I think I may go back and actually watch the first one again, just because it was last year when I watched it. So I don't remember. I want to watch it fresh so I can watch the other two. Like I watch them all back to back, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the first one is definitely the most like the one for like the mainstream audiences. It's like typical present day kind of like kind of thing. And then they obviously then they go back to the 80s one. The summer camp. And that's like that's more the nostalgic one. And then for the fans of folk horror, you get the third one, and it still all ties into one big story, which is really cool. But it's funny. It's like what I think I like is it has something, something for everyone. But also, each movie, some people could just find like, okay, that's mine, kind of a thing. So that's what I kind of liked about that little series. But yeah, very well deserving, I think, for best streaming. It's funny, you know what? So I saw a lot. That one Violation appeared a bunch of times. That was that one I told you about. I saw with very graphic sequence in it. I'd watched that, which it's a little bit disturbing on there. And it's funny. This is the one that Darcy came out and delivered the nominations for, which is kind of fun. Lucky was another one which could have won. That was really good. That was the one with Bree Grant. I remember it was the one that they actually Shudder premiered as like a special bonus, like 3 months before it was supposed to come out. They did like a special preview of it or something. I forgot how they did it. But it was something on It's like just one night they decided to air it as like a special bonus. But you and I ended up getting the screener for it anyway. Mm-hmm. So that one's really good. Next one is Best Documentary. I know you were extremely happy with this one.
Yeah, no surprise here.
Yeah, I mean, there was only 3 in the category. It's a new category they added this year. But there weren't other ones than these 3 this year?
I think there were more, but I don't know why. Because I watched some of them. There was that Boris Karloff one was really good. I think that one
right.
Came
this
out
was
this
the
year.
new category, right? This was one of the new categories.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and so this one was, then of course Best Documentary, and it was the winner was that one, The Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched. That was that one in that giant Severin box set, and that Tim watched on Shudder when it came, because Shudder kind of got a bunch of the stuff in the set and the big like a 3-hour documentary almost, I think.
Yeah, it was like 3 hours, and I will have to say, even if you're not interested in the subject matter, it's a really well made documentary. I can't stress that enough. Like, I was really struck by how well put together and well edited it was. Yeah. Aside from the subject matter.
Can I tell you the one thing is notably missing on here that is like, it's actually, and I think it's maybe because, but it ended up appearing on Shudder, so I don't know why, is how on earth did In Search of Darkness not make either 1 or 2 make this list?
I know. I don't know how they come up with these nominations, because we find gaps in it all the time. So
yeah,
who knows?
Like that one year where what was Tigers Are Not Afraid was completely absent.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know that.
I don't know what their criteria is, but the fact that In Search of Darkness did not make it either year, and that was literally one of the best horror documentaries you'll find anywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is, and and I'm still kind of bummed that Najara Townsend did not get nominated for anything, and she was so good in it. Have you seen The Stylist yet? You got to watch it. It's on Shudder now.
Yeah, I need to watch it. I haven't watched it yet. The next one up is Achievement Nonfiction. No surprise here. This went to The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs.
Although all the 3 nominees, like literally each one could have won, and no one would have been upset. I mean, it was Last Drive-In. Of course, that's going to win, I think, because that's like basically Shudder's heartbeat, right? You know. But there was also the Elvira's 40th anniversary special, which of course was a big, and then the Boulet Brothers Dragula. So it's like you got three shows there that I don't think anyone could have been upset if anyone would have taken it. Yes, Last Drive-In, people said, how could The Last Drive-In not win? Obviously that was going to be the front runner, but the other 2 were great. And I have to say, I'm like halfway through Elvira's biography, and I got to tell you, I mean, very few horror fans you'll find there that don't love Elvira, but this will make you love her even more. This is like the stuff she has been through in her life. And like, I'm literally up to when she's like 23 years old, and I'm like blown away at all the different people she met and the experiences she had and the crazy stuff that happened to her. Like stuff that like, I'm like, oh my God, like you never believe that her and this person, let's say, were in the same, because I don't want to spoil it for anyone that hasn't read the biography yet, but like would ever be in literally like mentioned in the same sentence, let alone actually happen in real life. It's crazy. This is one of the best biographies I've ever read. I don't if you have it, right?
Tim, I just haven't read it yet.
Yeah, oh my God, I recommend that to everybody. It's fantastic, and she writes it so good too, because there's like that like just like some of the things she says, you can almost picture her like audibly saying it. So it's great. So yeah, the next one is Best Makeup Effects, and this was Christopher Nelson won for Halloween Kills. Again, I think this is one of the examples of where the big name movie is kind of just hard not to pick. Yeah, I guess. Although Saw was on here, Spiral from the Book of Saw, and that one had some good stuff too. But Halloween Kills obviously had some, like big budget Hollywood gore behind it, so it's kind of hard to, kind of top that sometimes.
Next up is Best Screenplay. This one, I've got to see this movie, The Night House. Ben Collins and Luke Piotrowski for The Night House. I've heard good things about it. And you read some really good reviews. So that one kept kind of coming up over and over again as another one with a lot of nominations. So definitely.
But has one of our favorites in it.
Oh yeah, Rebecca Hall.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that she's automatically gonna like get our attention.
That's right. Yeah.
The next one was Best Costumes Design, which that was the other new category, I think. And that is Odile Dix Moreau from Last Night in Soho. I mean, I haven't got to see that yet, but I will say that just from all the trailers and stuff, very elaborate costumes in that. So
yeah, I could see a lot of that one.
Yeah. How did Slumber Party Massacre get in there? I don't know. Like, the new one? But, like, what kind of costumes could it actually have in there? I don't know.
Pajamas?
Like
I don't know.
I did, and the guy was like wearing a jean jacket, kind of like in the first one, I think. So, but okay.
Best international movie was Titan or Titan or however you want to pronounce it. And again, one I definitely have to watch, even though I totally spoiled it because I listened to the Kim and Ken episode before I'd actually watched it, but I still want to watch it anyway.
Oh, sometimes they make the movie. Like, they spoil it for you and make you want to watch it more than ever.
Yes, that's exactly, like, I had no interest in the movie. That's why I listened to the episode.
Yeah. And
by the end of it, I was dying to see it.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, if you've not yet heard their Friday the 13th, A New Beginning episode, you know how they do every Friday the 13th? They alternate and do one. Oh, my God. This one is like... I mean, it is hard to say because I feel like I say this almost every episode, but this may be one of their best episodes ever. It was just hilarious. Like, it starts off right off the bat with like just, you know, the usual like Kim and Ket shenanigans, but then it just the whole, because, you know, it's so against everything they stand for, you know, like the gratuitous like boobs in it, and it's like the whole time all they keep saying is like nobody wears bras, nobody wears. It was like,
it's a very boob filled Friday the 13th.
Oh my God, yeah.
Entry for sure.
But it's just so funny to hear them like describe like the way they go through this movie. It's just it's like perfect. Yeah. So my next thing here we got here is Best Series, and that one. This one had a couple of ones that could have easily. So I mean, this actually could be the toughest category.
I think so.
Now, Midnight Mass won, and I have not seen this yet. I will say I have not seen it yet. But also, the new Chucky's on there, Creepshow's on there, brand new Cherry Flavor was on there, which was from Netflix, which was pretty good. And I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I've only watched the first 2 episodes on Amazon Prime, so I need to finish that. But again, another good one. So this was really one of these ones that pretty much anything could have won.
Yeah, I saw Midnight Mass and I enjoyed it. I would have given it to Chucky just because I think Chucky did something almost impossible, which is take a movie franchise, turn it into a television series, and make it feel like part of the franchise. Like, it really feels like an extension of the franchise, and I thought that was pretty cool. Midnight Mass is great, don't get me wrong, but it's very similar in tone to The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor, and it's got that same kind of vibe to it. I will say there are moments in Midnight Mass that were some of the best television I've seen in a long time in terms of the acting, the dialogue, the scenes. So I can understand why it won, and I'm not disappointed by any means that it won. But just from a kind of a horror fan perspective, I kind of preferred Chucky better just because I thought it was just more fun. Midnight Mass is heavy. It's a heavy religious, a lot of religious overtones. So it's not a
Chucky
fun show.
Season 2 could take the award.
Yeah. So all the credit in the world to Midnight Mass. It was a fantastic show, but the subject matter was a little heavy for me. I preferred the fun and lightheartedness of Chucky.
Well, that's even like I Know What You Did Last Summer is very a little, you know, it's definitely more hardcore than the movie, the movies. You know how the 90s, the movie, you know, there's a little bit of the like cheesiness to it. This one seems to be more, definitely so far at least, it's very much more darker and more.
Yeah.
You know, but I think they you know, when you spread out a movie, you know, like a version of a movie, let's say, into a TV show where it's episodic, you can develop more, so can easily go that way. But I think yours is next, right? Sorry.
Best wide release movie, not a big surprise here. This went to Malignant, James Wan, and I thought it was, and my viral tweet probably helped propel it to victory. Let's be honest. So not a big surprise there.
Yeah. I mean, it went up again. I mean, so wide release movie was kind of hard too, this category. I mean, not as hard as it was the year before, but, it's still, people were not like, because they're still hitting theaters and going day and date at home. So it's like, it's almost hard to tell what was a wide release movie, what was streaming, what was anything anymore. But yeah, I mean, it was like the other ones were just at were Candyman, Last Night in Soho, The Night House again, and Quiet Place Part 2. So, that some other bit, but like for me, like Quiet Place 2 came so fast onto Paramount Plus that like even if it was hard to get to see it in the theater, and plus after Tim's Horror Story, I don't think I ever want to see a Quiet Place.
I will never
movie.
go see a Quiet Place movie in the theater.
Yeah, and there's a third, right? There's 2 more coming out, right? I heard there's like a third.
There's a prequel coming out. I know about
prequel.
Yeah.
And then like another one, like a different, like a continuation. I don't know if it's a continuation of but it focuses on the main family. This one is kind of more like Paranormal Activity, the Mark ones, where it's like part of the universe, but I guess it's a prequel, but not part using the main like family.
Well, I mean, they've built the universe. It's like The Walking Dead. They can spin it off however they want to now.
Yeah.
But I will have to say that was the most stressful movie going experience I've literally ever had. Trying to be quiet in that freaking theater, and I have a big tub of popcorn, and I feel like every time I crunch down, like I'm inviting the monsters to come swoop down everybody, and everybody's glaring at you. We'll never do that again. Quiet Place, home only from here on out.
Yeah. Well, and especially it's one of those movies where it's like, it's especially great if you watch it. Like I've watched them both with like headphones, like the AirPods, like on an iPad. It's like you're so immersed in it, like so you're kind of in there. So that's kind of good. But so but again, Malignant, no surprise. Best Director. So this one went to Edgar Wright, Last Night in Soho. Of course, very popular director. So he had a good edge. But again, he had some tough competition. He had Rose Glass from St. Maud, Julia Ducournau from Titan. I think that's how they said it, right? Titan.
Yeah.
Titan. Anthony Scott Burns, Come True. David Bruckner, The Night House again. And then Prano, Bailey, Bond, and Censor. But I will say, out of all the presenters, this may have been one of the most magical presenters, of course, because this was Joe Dante and Dee Wallace reuniting.
That was cool. I like that, yeah.
To come out there. And Dee Wallace, I swear to God, I think that woman de-ages.
She's radiant. She's radiant.
Does she look amazing still? She's like, oh my God, another dream guest category right there, Dee Wallace. Because we both met her in person, and she's absolutely as lovely as you would ever imagine. She is exactly how you would expect her to be.
One of the nicest celebrity guest experiences I've ever had. Like she was just completely charming.
Oh yeah, and it's funny. So in that movie, I don't know if you saw that movie yet. It's on Showtime now. It's 13 Fanboy. That's about that guy, the killer that stalks the actual Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
People, and all the people play themselves in it, except Corey Feldman, who comes in and plays like a weird sleazy producer director, which is kind of funny. But most people play themselves, like all the actors and actresses in the movie. But except somehow Dee Wallace is thrown into this Friday the 13th universe in it, but she plays herself. And it's funny, she's married in the movie. She's married to the guy. My God, I always forget his name. But he was the guy that played the guy in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, the one that was like, Mom! He was screaming like the... And he was just at the Jimmy J Entertainment Friday convention there. I got Ron Sloan. That was his name. And so he's in there, and he plays himself, but he's married to Dee Wallace in the movie. So they kind of moved reality around a little bit. But anyway, my point is, so there's one sequence that's really kind of fun, especially for us, where they're at, I guess, Monster Mania or Monsterpalooza, whatever the one in L.A. is. And they're at the convention. They show convention stuff, and they show someone going up to Dee Wallace and said, "Oh my God, I had a crush on you when I was a kid." And he's like, so she, typical Dee Wallace, she's like, "Oh, so are you nervous? Come on, let's get a picture." And and I'm like, oh my God, it's like they captured exactly how fun she is and how gracious and amazing she is, like in that sequence. It's
I told her she was like my second mom growing up, because she was the mom in E.T., she was the mom in Cujo. And I was a kid at the time, so she seemed like my screen mom for everything.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I bet you so many people feel the same way.
I'm sure she hears it all the time, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, no matter how many times she probably hears it, she reacts to you as if it's the first time she's hearing it.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
And that's what makes her special, and that's what makes her stand out. And yeah, if we could ever be able to get her on the show, I would like, as my people like to say, add plots, because yeah, she's wonderful. And of course, I have we took the picture. Seth and I met her at the Chillers, and we got a picture with her. And I remember Seth was like raving about it. I think she follows us on Instagram or Twitter. One of them she follows us on. But yeah, very, very, very wonderful woman. So, but to see her with Joe Dante reuniting to do an award after so many years, that was kind of cool.
So next up is Best Kill, and this is the bread slicer from Fear Street, which is kind of good. I like that one. I like that kill.
Yeah, no, that was good. You know what? It's hard to remember all the different kills this past year in movies for me. I mean, the funny thing is, like, I bet you that next to that one, probably there was a million different ones from Halloween Kills in there.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there was there were some good kills in that. But but I don't know if it's actually we don't know that, because this was a write-in one, so there's no nominees or anything, because we really don't know what else made it. And then normally Tim would have gotten this, stuck with this name, but I got it this time. And this was Best Lead Performance, and I think it was definitely well deserved. Okay, so this is Best Lead Performance, and this was won by Yahya Abdul Mateen II for Candyman. And he was really good in that. But this one had, again, listen to this list of people that were in what he went against. It was Niamh Algar for Censor, Anna Taylor-Joy for Last Night in Soho, Morfydd Clark for St. Maud, Rebecca Hall for Night House, Barbara Crampton for Jacob's Wife, Thomasin McKenzie, Last Night in Soho, who, of course, was also great and old. Then Agatha, I think it's Agatha or is it Agathe? I don't know. Roussel and Titan. We're never going to say that right anymore. Julia Sarah Stone from Come True. Madeline Sims Fewer from Violation. And the winner, obviously, Yahya Abdul Mateen II for Candyman.
Best limited release movies, our last category. That went to PG Psycho Gorman.
I'm glad that got an award like that,
All right, well, that brings us to our feature this week, and I was really excited about
popcorn.
Popcorn. I was really excited about this one because I remember watching this back in 91 when it came out. I think I probably watched it at some point when it came out for rental. I don't think I've seen this movie in at least 20 years, maybe 25. It's just, and I always had I remember liking it when I saw it, and it's always one that I've thought about revisiting, and I just never got around to it for whatever reason. And there's so many new movies I haven't seen that you end up watching because you've already seen this one. So I was really excited to go back to this one. And let me tell you, I loved it. I had a blast with this movie, and I think it's one that, as I mentioned in the intro for last episode, I think it's become a cult classic, because this was not a box office success at all. This thing tanked, and I think it's one of those movies that just found new life in the rental market, and especially over the years as people have come to grow to appreciate it. I guess we'll go through the housekeeping here. We had Popcorn, 1991, directed by Mark Harrier and Alan Ormsby, who was uncredited. Yeah, he was also Alan Ormsby was also one of the writers. Starring Jill...
and he was the guy that played with the two heads.
Oh,
the guy that was in the line.
Yeah,
he was the two-head guy.
That was a good costume. It's got Jill Schoelen as Maggie, Tom Villard, who basically steals this whole movie. Tom Villard as Toby, Dee Wallace as Suzanne, Derek Rydall as Mark, Malcolm Danare as Bud, Elliot Hurst as Leon, Yvette Solar as Joni, Freddie Simpson as Tina, Kelly Jo Minter as Cheryl, Karen Laurie as Joy, Ray Walston as Dr. Nisine, and
I think it's Nasine or something. He called.
And
I've forgotten how he said it.
It's spelled weird. And Tony Roberts as Mr. Davis. A master of disguise, deranged killer begins killing off the college students who are organizing a horror movie marathon in an abandoned theater.
Yeah, and one of the best box arts they used to have. That's such a box art that probably everyone has seen, and it's been duplicated. It's been kind of I guess homaged so to speak. Many a time I've seen like things that kind of have that feel to it that Popcorn had.
This one is number one, has a brilliant premise. Like, if you love the old William Castle gimmicks of, they had the Tingler and all the different like gimmicks William Castle used to put into his movies to make the theater experience special, with all the weird 3D and the flying skeletons and all this stuff. I mean, take that as your premise, that you're going to have this movie marathon that these college kids are putting on, and you're going to have a killer who's basically offing people in the manner of using those gimmicks. I mean, that to me is just a super premise. And then on top of that, you also have something that's kind of become more popular these days, which is the idea of the cursed film, or almost supernatural film that has some control over people. That kind of comes into play here, which I was kind of surprised I'd forgotten that aspect of it. So that piece was a little surprising, because we've seen what was the recent Netflix one about the cursed film was Archive 81 or whatever, and then you have
what was that one you watched for the challenge with the haunted film or something?
Yeah, that one was a haunted film, and then there was an episode of that American Horror Story spinoff that was about a haunted film. There's been several podcasts about it, about various haunted, possessed films or cursed films. So that it was kind of neat to see that in the early 90s movie with that kind of stuff making a comeback now. But so I had a blast with this, because this movie does what you see a lot of Halloween set movies do, where you always have the neighborhood. It's like fully decked out in Halloween, and it's like the ideal, perfect Halloween neighborhood. Take that idea and put that into a film festival. And this is like what every movie fan's dream film fest would be like, with everybody in costume and the gimmicks, and it's in an old theater, and it's only one night only, and they're showing all these classic films, and they're doing all the props. I mean, it's like the most perfect thing you could ever imagine that could only be done in a movie, because you're never going to have something that perfect in real life. At least I've never been to one.
Yeah, and the fact that like literally they had 3 weeks to get this done, and they did it, and they like, because they happen to have the one guy, like the Ray Walston character shows up, has everything they need for it.
Oh, of course, yeah. So the movie starts out with like the premise is already like captured my attention, and I think they did a pretty good job of making all the characters really likable. They're not you have no characters that's unlikable. You feel like they're all like film fans or all horror fans. There's that automatic connection there. I think that helps, and I think that does a good job of having you care for these characters, even without a lot of exposition, because you don't really get to, I wouldn't say you really get to know these characters very well, except for the lead, but there's something about them that you kind of maybe kind of identify with because they're fellow horror fans. But yeah, this one's really fun. Tom Villard, as I mentioned earlier, is the standout in this, and he was always kind of a goofy guy. Fortunately, tragically died at the age of 40 from complications of AIDS, which is sad, but he really carries this movie, not only as his, well, I don't know if we want to get into spoilers for a 30-year-old movie, but not only in his role as...
I'm sure most people have listened to the show have seen this
I would hope so. I want to spoil a 30-year-old movie, but not only in his role as Toby, as the film student, but also in his role as the main villain, where he really, really shines, and had some great makeup effects and stuff. But yeah, what do you think about this movie, Brian? Because I'm kind of seeing it with fresh eyes, because it's been so long since I'd seen it. I didn't remember a whole lot about it, to be honest. So I was kind of watching it fresh again, and really, really had a great time with it. But I'm kind of curious, because you were a lot more, I guess, more familiar with it, because you've watched it a lot more than I have.
Yeah, so this has always been, like, I mean, I've seen this back when it came out. This was always one of my favorite, go-to horror movies. I remember I had it on VHS, I had it on DVD, I have it on Blu-ray. So it's like, this is one of these movies where, like, and it was one of those movies I like to, like, almost like, you just, there's certain movies you'll just throw on when you at night when you want to go to sleep or something. At one point, this was that movie for me. I used to always watch. I think because I just love what all that you described earlier when you talked about the feel of it, how like those, it's like exactly, it's like those Christmas movies where the whole town is celebrating, the Halloween where everyone is in, and same thing with this, and they like I mean, just from every little element to it. And if you look at this movie from like the outside eyes of it, you're like, oh my god, it's so cheesy. There's these musical montages of them putting together the thing and all this stuff.
It definitely has a very 80s feel to it.
It does, but it was in the 90s, and I said that. I said, look at it's got like 80s all stars packed in there, like Dee Wallace, Jill Schoelen, and Ray Walston to some degree. He was always popping up in movies around then. But Tony Roberts, Kelly Jo Minter. I mean, all these like these people that are around in like these 80s movies, like were in this movie. But it was like, but it was actually 91. It could have totally been an 80s movie. Like for all I know.
And Brian, I don't know how much you dug down this rabbit hole, but the director was one of the actors in Porky's, and I think Porky's 2 and Porky's 3 maybe. And the writer, which was Alan Ormsby, did Porky's 2. He wrote Porky's 2. Okay. So there's this. I say all that to say there's like this kind of 80s aesthetic that creeps in, which I think may be just because you had so many of these guys were 80s like film people.
Yeah, but I mean, and the thing is, I think that's why it like stands out. And like people, they always like talk about those 90s horror films, but like this one, it's like you almost forget it's in there because it's so 80s centric at some level. But it's the same reason what I loved about that movie Matinee. Remember that with John Goodman? Yeah. It was like the same thing. I love this. I love when there's like a movie, when there's like a movie marathon within a movie, and you see like all these other little movies, and this one took it to the like the big degree, because like you saw a lot of each of the movies in there, like, and I remember I used to laugh at the guy with like, so you're saying there's these corpuscles in my body? Like that guy, like that, like I always used to laugh at that because the word corpuscle is hilarious to me, but also just in in general, like that whole sequence is like they managed to capture those older movies great. And like all I know is like every time I watch this movie, I'm like, I would love to be part of this horror festival.
I think and you're trapped in that theater with everybody. This whole movie, like it doesn't break out of the theater. I mean, there's a couple sequences where they go outside, but
like they go to the house.
But you feel like you're like in this movie marathon with everybody for the entire duration of the movie, which is fun. Yeah,
and I mean, there's a little bit of like there's that element of like especially when they go to Tom Villard's house, the apartment there, that you get this total fade to black vibe in there, where he's got all the messy house with all these things going on, and it's just all these different like like these little like things are going on, and yet you're kind of like, you never really like Tim said, you never really leave the theater other than a few sequences, and you're always kind of trapped in and around the theater. So it's kind of almost like one of those, and usually those movies like that really like movies are stuck in one location for too long. It's always like that kind of like so like they it's a tricky dynamic to keep you engaged in. But in this, they do such a good job where it's like, I like something about watching this movie gives me such like, it's like a comfort, it's like a warm feeling to it. And it's a horror movie about all these people getting off, in a movie theater. But it's it's got a like I think the performances are just so cool in it. Like you said, Tom Villard just steals every scene he's in. Every scene he's in is like it's like you just kind of your eyes pop open and perk up because it's so fun. And Kelly Jo Minter in it is awesome in it, like, because every movie she's in, she's always kind of plays like this similar of a like this like kind of like tough girl, but like so cool that you can't help but like her, kind of a role. And so like she's like so she's great in this too, like there's a couple of like such stereotypical characters in it, but also like they managed to do a good job of making you pretty much like, very few people you'll like hate in the movie, even the bad guys have like some kind of charm in it. There's the Chad type of guy who kind of redeems himself, except if you notice, he's like literally, he like proves that like I could be a hero of a movie, because like literally the guy is just getting either thrown around, clutching this. Even when his big saving moment happens, if you think he didn't do anything but crash into something that causes the events to basically save the day.
Yeah.
Which
there's
I don't know.
There's some goofiness. There's some kind of goofy fun to this movie. I can't put my finger on, but even the stuff that I was complaining about, like, and I wasn't complaining like seriously, but I texted Brian. I was like, "How is this band up there playing electric guitars and singing into a mic with speakers if there's no power?" And because all the power had gotten cut to the theater. There's little like weird logic inconsistencies there, but you don't care because you're just having so much fun that you care. And which also brings up another point. Interestingly enough, this movie was entirely filmed in Jamaica. That's why all the bands are reggae bands and everything.
Oh, that was always the one question I wondered. Why is it like? And I happen to love reggae music, but I was wondering why it was
like why that
so reggae heavy.
Yeah, it was filmed. It was literally filmed in Jamaica. So go figure. But yeah, I mean, like I said, totally got trashed at the box office to the point where it was hitting second run theaters like the week after release. I mean, it was bad. So this was not well received at all. And looking back on it, maybe you just need that perspective of time. But I thought it was brilliant. I think it's got great characters. I think it's got clever kills. I think it's got a great villain. There's some weird. I mean, I thought they did a really good job with the mask thing. I'm usually not a fan of movies where like the person puts on a mask of somebody and they look, and then it's obviously they switch to the different actor. And they're like, "Ooh!" But
they did a good job when it was like just like loosely.
Yeah, that's what I'm
him.
saying. They actually made it somewhat believable in this one. Like when he puts on the mask on, it's not like they just cut to the actor that he's trying to portray. They had enough of the makeup and stuff to make it kind of give you the sense of it. I thought that was really, really well done. So I may have to wrap this up a little short because it is storming like crazy here. We just had
we're supposed to get one through. It just blew through here a little bit,
which is appropriate for a horror podcast. Don't get me wrong. But.
Yeah, well, we're almost done anyway. Yeah. But yeah, we'll just finish with I mean, because a lot of people have seen this, so we can just go talk. I will just say this has always been one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I could like literally watch it over and over again and never get bored with it. It's just one of those movies where. Like I love being in the world that it presents to you, and I always want it's like I appreciate every second of it through its runtime that I'm in there.
If you guys have not seen this one in a while, definitely go check it out. I've gone back and revisited some other early '90s films, and even some slashers from maybe a little more recent, like Valentine, which I think was early 2000s, and those showed their age to me, and I would go back to them and go, I don't know why I like this movie back then because it's not that great. This one had the opposite effect. And this one's like a fine wine. It aged well. I really loved it. Maybe it's the nostalgia just works now because it's 30 years later. But I had a blast with this one.
Nice. So I do have a beer pairing, Tim.
Oh, this is a great beer pairing.
Yeah, and this you would have to definitely watch the movie to get the good reference, but it's Vicious Mosquito by Sun River Brewing Company in Sun River, Oregon. And, of course, it was a movie called, I think, The Mosquito in it, right? I forgot the exact title.
Yeah, I think it was just The Mosquito.
Giant killer mosquito, and they had a big mosquito prop that comes into play multiple times in the movie, which is really cool. So this was, I thought, an excellent choice for that. I mean, I saw there was a popcorn beer or something, but that's too obvious. I wanted to get something cool and specific here. So, so it's a 7%, and it's here's the description. It says our flagship West Coast style IPA is brewed with the finest hand-selected Northwestern hops, delivering a resinous punch of grapefruit, pine, lemon, and a hint of dankness. Well balanced and moderately bitter, this brew finishes crisp and dry, and there's multiple hops in there. It's Warrior, Cascade, Centennial, Columbus, and Simcoe.
Wow. Very good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
All right, so our fan topic foo, which we're going to rush through because I swear I think lightning is about to hit my house. Who are some of your favorite Twitter follows? Twitter follows. And Brian, I'm going to let you take this one because honestly, other than our good friends, Jeff Whitmire and our mailman, who contributed this question. We have a lot of our great friends, Emily Sweet and stuff on Twitter, but I'm going to let you take some of the ones maybe, because I'm not on Twitter as much as you are, because you handle a lot of our social media side of things.
Yeah, I mean, there's, it's hard because that's obvious, like you said, mention those, and of course Cody and people like that. I think so, but some of my it's hard because of course some of the bigger celebrities will that follow us, I think, are probably the ones that are kind of gonna come to the top of my head. But it's hard to really, it really is hard because I don't know all the times who necessarily follows us as opposed to we follow them. But I mean, there's, I think it's really, I'm going to be, I don't mean for this to be a cop out, but I think anyone that follows us that will kind of interact with us, to me, is up there, I mean, yeah, sure, it's very exciting when a celebrity will follow us, but I think I like it when someone we don't expect just follows us out of the blue, and then we end up with becoming friends, we're we have all the people from the host follows us, and we follow them, and there's some good interaction there. But I think it's just really, I'm gonna be more of a kind of a global thing of it. I love people that follow us that will just interact with us, that'll comment on posts we make, and engage and talk horror with us, because to me that's what it's all about. That's the magic of social media, especially in the horror community. So yeah, I mean, and some people we made friends through Twitter like that. We met Jeff Whitmire through Twitter, it wasn't necessarily through the podcast per se. That's when we met Cody and David McHugh, because they were listeners, and but like Jeff Whitmire, we met through Twitter because he was, we were in the Mutant family together, and we were fans of Host, and then we met him, and look at that. Now we're good. We always talk to him. We collaborate with him, and it's stuff like that. So I'm going to go more that way. I think I'm going to go through more of the people that just interact with us, so not really by name, but by theme of the person.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to do that.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to get out of here before I get electrocuted, just like the guy in Popcorn. And we'll see you back here next week. It's going to be fun trying to edit out all these thunder sounds, or maybe I'll just leave them in for atmosphere. All right, guys. We will see you back here next week.
See ya.